Welcome to our explainer on the Middle Ages. We're going to level up our history knowledge and our writing skills by taking a massive global tour of the medieval world. Today's all about putting everything we've learned together into one masterclass of a review. We're looking at the big picture, how totally different societies lived, ruled, and actually connected with each other. So let's dive right into our essential question. How did medieval societies organize power, belief, trade, and daily life? We're going to look really closely at how incredible societies across China, Africa, Japan, Europe, and the early Americas structured their daily worlds. Just think about it for a second. 1,000 years ago, people had absolutely no internet, no airplanes, no smartphones. Yet they managed to organize these massive empires, develop super complex belief systems, and create trade networks that literally spanned continents. How on earth did they pull that off? Well, that is exactly what we're here to figure out. Here's our game plan for today. 1. The skill. 2. Level A, organizing power. 3. Level B, trade and geography. 4. The challenge. And finally, 5. A quick retrieval check. We're basically going to tackle this massive history topic like a video game, leveling up as we go. Starting off with Section 1, the skill, mastering the objective summary. Before we get into all the kings, empires, and ancient trade routes, we need the ultimate academic tool, and that is the objective summary. As a grade 7 historian, your job isn't just to know what happened, it's to communicate what happened, clearly, accurately, and fairly. Notice how the opinionated text is just full of biased fluff? Saying things like best and coolest might be how you personally feel, but they definitely aren't historical facts. But then, look at the objective side. It's crisp, it's reliable, and it's based entirely on historical evidence. It tells us that south of the Sahara, African music and dance were central cultural developments that integrated community and daily life. It gives us the straight facts without the personal spin. So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that a grade 7 objective summary simply reports the facts exactly as they appear in your source material, leaving your personal feelings totally the door. When you write your summaries today, you're essentially acting as a historical reporter. You want your reader to trust you, right? And they're going to trust you if you provide clear evidence instead of just sharing your personal opinions. All right, moving right along to Section 2, Level A. Organizing power, defining systems of control. Welcome to Level A. Let's think about how leaders actually kept control of vast amounts of land and people without any modern technology. Whether it was the shoguns and samurai of Japan, the monarchs and knights of Europe, or the massive dynasties of China, regions organized power through 3 main systems. Feudal systems relied on local lords and strict social classes exchanging land for loyalty and protection. Imperial systems featured a super powerful centralized ruler, like an emperor controlling a vast territory. And then you had early constitutional or representative systems, which began placing the very first limits on a ruler's power, allowing councils or documents to actually give some voice to the people. So here is your Level A challenge. Time to combine these ideas. First, you're going to write down your very own definition of an objective summary. Remember, keep it strictly factual. Second, list out the 3 forms of government we just talked about to show you've totally mastered the political basics of the medieval world. Once you have those locked in, boom, you've beaten Level A and you're ready for the next stage. Section 3, Level B, Trade and Geography, connecting the medieval world. Awesome job on Level A. Let's level up to B. The Middle Ages were definitely not a time of isolated people just hiding away in castles. It was an era of incredibly dynamic global movement. And it's fascinating to see how geography literally dictated what moved and where. Vast overland and maritime trade networks coming out of China moved absolute game changers, technologies like the magnetic compass and gunpowder all across the world. Meanwhile, across the very geography of Africa, trade routes didn't just move physical goods, they actively shaped cultural connections, allowing for the widespread movement of music and dance developments that really cemented community bonds across huge distances. For your Level B task, go ahead and put that historical reporter hat back on. You're going to write a tight, objective 3-sentence summary explaining exactly how geography shaped these connections. You'll definitely want to make sure to include at least one specific traded good or invention, like the compass or gunpowder, and explain how it moved. Use those objective reporting skills here, guys. No opinions, just the historical facts of how trade and geography linked these societies together. Section 4. The challenge, the ultimate summary. All right, you've officially reached the final boss. It is time for the challenge tier. Your task is to synthesize everything we've reviewed into a single masterful paragraph. You need to objectively weave together an example of medieval power, daily life, and trade technology. This means you've got to plan out your writing. You might introduce the paragraph by mentioning how empires used imperial systems to maintain control. Then maybe transition to how they used their controlled geography to trade technologies like gunpowder, and finally explain how this interconnectedness impacted daily cultural life. By combining these distinct regions into one paragraph, you're going to prove that you truly understand the big picture. You're showing that the samurai in Japan, the merchants in China, the musicians in Africa, the knights in Europe, and the incredibly complex early civilizations in the Americas weren't just living in separate little bubbles. And we definitely want to make sure those early Americans aren't left out of the equation. Through this synthesis, you are going to prove exactly how conflict and connection shaped the entire modern world. Section 5. Retrieval check. Lock in your knowledge. Okay, before we completely wrap up this explainer, let's do a quick rapid-fire retrieval check to lock in that hard-earned knowledge. Question 1. Think back to our African music and dance example. What specific words do you need to leave out to keep it objective? I'll give you a second. Right. You absolutely need to eliminate personal judgments, biases, and emotion-driven words like best or coolest, and stick strictly to the evidence. On to question 2. What are the 3 forms of government we organized in Level A? Remember the different political systems used in medieval Europe, Japan, and the Americas? You should have recalled feudal systems, imperial systems, and constitutional or early representative systems. Question 3. Which regions' trade networks were responsible for moving the compass and gunpowder? Basically, which empire innovated these crucial technologies that eventually spread across global trade routes? Got it? The answer is China. And honestly, that gunpowder eventually blew up medieval warfare as they knew it. Their massive trade networks pushed these innovations out into the wider world, changing navigation and conflict literally forever. As you finish up your ultimate summary, I want you to leave this explainer thinking about this final question. How do the medieval connections of power, belief, trade, and daily life continue to shape our modern world today? Those ancient systems of trade and power didn't just magically disappear, they evolved. The global connections you live with right now, the goods you buy, the systems you live under, were fundamentally born in the Middle Ages. So keep that in mind as you defeat this final boss paragraph. Thanks for hanging out with us for this explainer, and keep exploring.